Hello everyone, let us continue with the lesson the French Revolution. In the last video we saw how the clergy and the nobility enjoyed certain privileges by birth, and they also were exempted from paying taxes to the state. However, the lower peasants and the poor people, those who did not have land, they had to pay a lot of taxes. The church too extracted its share of taxes called tithes from the peasants, and finally all the members of the third estate had to pay taxes to the state. Now this tithes was actually a tax levied by the church comprising of 1/10 of the total agricultural produce. So it is kind of religious tax, and the church took 1/10 of the total whatever is produced by the common peasants. Also, there was a direct tax that was imposed on the third estate, and it was called taille. It is like a kind of income tax paid directly to the state, and a number of indirect taxes were also levied on articles of everyday consumption like tobacco and salt, etc., without which the everyday life was affected a lot. So the burdening of financing these activities of the state through taxes was borne or carried by the third estate alone. So all the taxes were paid only by the third estate, and the burden was carried by them. As a whole, the third estate had to suffer because of all these taxes, direct and indirect taxes. Now we'll go to the next page and we'll see that there is a picture here, and we'll see about this, how the third estate was tortured, or you can say they were forced to pay the taxes. This is the picture, and it is called the spider and the fly. Here the landlord, or you can say the rich nobleman, he is not at all concerned about the poor farmer, and here we see is an arrogant and rich proud person, and on the other hand the other person who is a tenant, poor tenant, he gives everything, all the gifts and all he brings, and he pays it to the rich landlord who is not at all worried about his condition or his poverty. So this picture is very powerful. Why? Because there shows how the people are treated, how the people were treated at that time. Also, we came to know the next topic, that is called the struggle to survive, or the fight to survive. It is 1.1, and here we are going to talk about the problem that rose in France. The population of France rose from about 23 million in 1715 to 28 million in 1789. So almost there was like a great increase, and this led to a rapid increase in the demand for food grains. So although the people increased, but the food grains, the production of the food grains could not keep pace with the demand of the people. So as a whole, there was a great problem of scarcity of food. So the price of the bread, which was the staple diet of the majority of the French people, rose rapidly. So we come to know the price of the bread was hiked a lot, and some people, those who had money, they only could buy, but the majority of the people, most of the people had to buy bread. They had to depend on bread for survival. So this was actually the main reason where the people struggled to survive from hunger, and they had to eat something to at least live their lives. Most workers were employed as laborers in the workshops whose owner fixed their wages, but the wages did not keep pace with the rise in price. So the gap between the poor and the rich widened. So here, whatever salary or whatever money they used to get at the end of the day, the owner fixed that, and he did not increase. The owner did not increase the wages at all. However, the price of the things in the market increased. So they were unable to buy the things with the less wages, whatever they were given by the owner. So as a whole, the gap, the distance between the poor people and the rich widened a lot, and things became worse whenever drought, there was hail, this kind of dry season, and extreme rainfall or hail like stones fall from the sky, they reduced the harvest and destroyed the crops. As a whole, this led to the condition of subsistence crisis. Here the meaning of the subsistence crisis is given there. It is an extreme situation where the basic means of livelihood are endangered, and here we come to know that how the subsistence crisis affected the people of France that occurred frequently, means it was not a thing like which happened only once or twice. It happened most of the time in France. And during the old regime, that means before 1789, it was a common thing that the subsistence crisis used to take place. So how does the subsistence crisis take place? Let's see about that also. So here we come to know the table. It was already done, and you can understand here for your better understanding. Bad harvest is there is no grain, scarcity of grain. This leads to rise in the food prices, and the poor people cannot buy. And when the poor people cannot buy any food, cannot have any kind of survival technique, at the time they become weak, their bodies become weak, and they fight for that, they fight for the food, and this becomes a food riot. And during the food riot also, many people are injured, and sometimes many people die. Sometimes there is no food, that is why they suffer from epidemic diseases. And as a whole, the number of death, the number of the people, those who are suffering from hunger, die. That's what. Thank you so much.